Your greatest assets become your greatest liabilities. So it's an oxymoron. Your greatest assets, and one of your greatest assets is your ability to love. And women love to get love back in return. And when you don't get it, women conclude, you know what? You know what? Okay, he's not loving me the way I'm not happy, I'm not fulfilled, I'm not satisfied. You know what? It must be me. So I need to love more. So you love more, you do more, you give more, you sacrifice more, and then you end up not happy. And you know what the woman concludes? Oh my gosh, I'm not happy, I'm not satisfied, I'm not fulfilled. The problem must be me. I need to do more. And so your greatest assets become your worst liabilities, because nobody has taught you the art of getting your man to love you the way you want and need to be loved.
Hey everyone, and welcome. I am Morgan Giss McDonald, founder CEO of Paper Raven Books, and I have today a super special guest. If you are having any trouble or questions in the realm of dating and marriage and relationships, you are going to want to stay tuned for this one. We are talking about the art of womanhood, teaching your man to love you the way you want to be loved without him knowing he's being taught. And I have with us today Pastor Frank Legette. Frank, thank you so much for being here.
It is a pleasure. It is a pleasure to be here, Morgan. It's been a long time coming, and I'm excited to really get this done.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited. Yes, you and I have been talking about this book for a while. You've been working on this book for long before. You have an entire lifetime and career and ministry really packed into the pages of this book. And I'd love for you just to start us off, Frank, with kind of telling us the art of womanhood. Who did you write it for? What are we going to discover inside this book?
The book really, it man, this whole experience just came out of nowhere. And I talk about it in chapter 1. It came about as a result of an experience that my daughter was going through that I didn't know she was going through. And I called her one day, and she was in the midst of her brokenness and her pain. She was upside down in a relationship with a guy, and she shouldn't have been. Her heart was broken, and I walked her through a process, and I gave her one technique. It just happened to be the only technique I had at the time. And now, as a result of that, I have over 30, but it was the only technique that I gave her at the time. It is the one technique that every woman should have in her back pocket. And I hope she never has to use it, because if you have to use it, your relationship is in trouble, your marriage is in trouble, you're heartbroken and you're not happy. So I hope you never end up there, but we know that that's not reality. I taught her that one technique, and in less than an hour, her life changed, and I began to work with her. And I began to teach her some stuff that I just started sharing with her. And she said these words to me that changed my life. She said, Papa, you need to write a book because women don't know what you're teaching me. And I went, really? No one had ever said that to me before. And I had worked with women before, but nobody said that. And as a result of that, I started writing. Now, it shouldn't take anybody as long as it took me to write this book. It took me 18 years to finish this book. But it's finally here. This book is for women, single and married, younger and older, who are not being loved the way they want to be loved, because we need to face it. We need to understand one thing. Most of us guys, and I've been a guy for a long time, so I have a little experience here, Morgan. You see this gray hair here, right? I've been around the block a few times. In fact, I've been around the block 69 times. How do I know it's 69? Because that's exactly how old I am. But anyway, most of us come into a relationship with a woman, and we love you the way we know how to love you. We love you the way we are accustomed to loving you. And that's what we bring to the table. But quite often, for many of you, it is not good enough, but it's all that we know. It's all that we have. And so most of you are and here's what I'm going to teach my readers. You are the one and only expert on planet Earth who knows how you want to be loved. Therefore, you need, when I come into your life, you need to teach me how to love you, because I don't know that. I really don't. It seems so simplistic, but it is such a foreign concept to individuals. And when I taught that to my daughter, I said, look, you're going to have to teach your husband, because she went on to marry this great guy, right? My son-in-law is the greatest guy ever. He really is. I thank God for him. But most marriages have issues most marriages fail in the first 2 to 3 years, right? You got two individuals coming from two different backgrounds, sometimes different cultures, whole 9 yards, and it's a clash. Well, my daughter and my son-in-law were a typical couple. And I said, look, you need to teach your husband how to love you the way you want to be loved. She said, Papa, I got 3 kids. I don't want 4. I said, look, he doesn't know how to love you the way you want to be loved. So you're going to have to teach him. Now, you're going to have to teach him in a way that he doesn't know he's being taught, because when he realizes he's in class, he's never going back to that class again. So there's an art to doing this. And so I teach women, I don't give theory, I give time-tested and proven techniques. And I teach women how to teach their men to love them the way they want to be loved. Because, Morgan, if I love you that way, I get it right every time. If I love you the only way I know how to love you, the way I've been accustomed to love you, the way I'm comfortable with loving you, it's going to be a crapshoot, right? And you will end up unhappy in many cases. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I love that you brought us right to sort of like the foundational principle philosophy of the book. You know, if on first glance someone hears the art of womanhood, I'm sure some women are sort of like roll their eyes. Oh, here comes someone to teach me how to be a woman. And you came straight in for it, and like, you are the only expert on how to love you. And it's like, this is individualized, this is empowering. This is really lifting women up to say, you know what, you deserve to be loved. And we just got to find some practical ways to help make that happen.
Yeah. Now, look, I just did a thing recently with married couples. I had 14 couples. And when many of them walked through the door, they were hurting, in pain, some of them this close to divorce. And here's what I shared with them. I talked to their husbands first. I said, look, what happens, most of us, talking about guys now and husbands, we get exactly what we want in the relationship. The marriage is all about us. It really is. Okay? And so many of us are on cloud 9 in our marriages. Why? Because you place us there. You meet all of our needs. We get all of the food. We get beautiful kids. We get a nice house, nice and clean house. We get all the sex we want, the whole 9 yards. You do all of that because you are intentional that way. But then we don't reciprocate. We don't reciprocate and give back to you the way you're giving to us. So while many husbands and men are on cloud 9, many women are on -9. And they don't know how to bridge that gap. Well, this book is about the art, because I'm here to tell you, I've worked with a lot of women. If you're cussing, fussing, fighting, feuding, throwing temper tantrums, leaving, coming back, leaving, coming back, leaving, coming back, I'm telling you, none of that works long term. It just does not work. It may work temporarily, and he may miss you while you're at your parents' house, you're at your siblings' house, whatever. But when you come back, he falls right back into the same habits. It doesn't fix anything long term. There's an art to getting your man to love you the way you want and need to be loved. Because when he does it, he gets it right every time. There's an art to it. And women have not been taught the art. About 70 years ago, boomer mothers from my generation, stopped teaching their daughters what their daughters needed to be in a relationship with a man and get what they needed to be happy. Mothers stopped passing that information down. All the previous generations, the mothers and aunts and grandmothers, the whole community were teaching their daughters. But now we've got daughters leaving their teens, coming into their 20s, and nobody has taught them how to be in a relationship with a man and get what they need to be happy. So there's an art to it. This book is about teaching you the art.
Can you give us example, Frank, of maybe you already teased us with like you told your daughter sort of one thing that helped her. Can you give us an example of kind of one of these practical things?
Boy, what would I say? Okay, I have a coaching program, right? It's a 12-week coaching program. And the first technique that I teach is called the real man technique. I spent a couple of weeks on it. It is the most intensive thing that I do. And in that first technique, the real man technique, it has 3 phases to it. The first one is to identify what you are attracted to in a man. I'm going to say this to you, and this is really shocking, and I really didn't understand this before I started it. Most women have never sat down and really thought about what they are attracted to in a man. So when they come to me, they've never gone through that process, and I walk them through the process of helping them to identify. Just because a man is a man, just because he has a penis and not a vagina, doesn't mean he needs to be in your life. And so I had to teach my daughter some practical things. There's some things that God has designed you to do. God has designed you to be the one who is pursued and not the pursuer. And you can't always, sometimes you have to say no, and you have to learn, here's what I taught my daughter. You have to learn how to draw a man. Because if you are pursuing him, you are upside down in the relationship. It makes you vulnerable. And so a little while ago, she told me this story. We were at a facility for 10 days, and it was my wife, my wife and I, my daughter, and my daughter's daughter, our granddaughter. And so, unbeknown to my wife and I, my daughter had met this gentleman. She had met this gentleman and who was staying in the same hotel that we were. They had met before, but then they just bumped into each other and they were talking. So he walked her to our hotel room that night and he asked her for a kiss. She said no. So then after they got married, she asked him, why me? You're a young man, good looking guy, handsome, whole 9 yards, eligible. Why would you choose this woman to be your life partner? He said, you know what it was? He said, it was the night I walked you to the room and I asked you for a kiss and you said no. He said, that drew me like a magnet. It separated you from everybody else. It meant you were not easy. You had standards and I had to bring my A game. He said, that was a difference maker for me. And it drew him like crazy. And so that's what I do in the very early part of those 12. And starting with that first technique, I teach women how to be flowers and not bees. Because see, flowers never chase bees. Am I right? They
never do.
Physiologically incapable of chasing a bee. What do? Flowers do this. When the sun comes up, they do this. They open up and they emit an incredible aroma, and it is that aroma that draws a bee to come and get some of that nectar. But if you are a woman and should be functioning as a flower, but you're chasing bees, you are at a distinct disadvantage and you've given all your power away. You've given away your power to draw a man. And so I teach women how to separate themselves from everybody else in the crowd so that she goes to the top of the list and becomes incredibly unique. And they end up saying to that woman, I've never met a woman like you in my life. And when a man says that, he's bringing his A game, and that's what you want him to bring.
Oh, I love that, Frank. What about women who are already married?
Yeah. The principles are the same. And the problems are the same. Okay? Now, nobody gets married to be miserable. Nobody. Nobody on planet Earth gets married to be miserable. But you know what happens? With us, life happens. We want to keep a roof over our heads. We want to keep food on the table. We want to educate our children. We want them in the best schools. We want to drive nice cars. We get involved in life, and what ultimately happens is the totem pole effect kicks in. You see, because many guys are like me. I don't multitask well, right? Women are incredible multitaskers. A woman can be cooking, watch television, be on the phone, have a baby in this arm and a knee baby down here, and not burn up the food, watch the show, stay current in the conversation, take care of this baby and take care of that baby, and not miss any of them. I can't. God, don't ask me to do any of that, okay? I can't do any of that. So we're not great at multitasking. So what we do is what's at the top of the totem pole gets our attention. And once we master that, that becomes number two, and number two becomes number one. So when we're dating you and pursuing you, you're number one. Everything else is 2, 3, 4, 5. But when we master that, when we ask you to marry us and you say I do, and we go to the wedding and we exchange I do's, we become comfortable. So then we change our attention to what was number two. Number two jumps up to number one, which is you, becomes number two. So then when we master that, then we say, okay, now I gotta expand my business, or I gotta stop working for this guy, I gotta open my own business. So what was number three jumps up to number one becomes number two, you were number two, now you're down to number three. And it keeps going and you keep sliding. It's not intentional, it's just life, right? And so women come to me and they don't know how to fix it. So they get frustrated and they make all the mistakes that the typical woman makes. What do? They fuss, they curse, they throw a temper tantrum, they leave, they come back, they leave, they come back, they leave, they come back, they cuss, they tear up the house, whole 9 yards. None of that works permanently. At best, you will experience a temporary fix, and then he falls right back into the same old behavior once he thinks the coast is clear. So what do? I teach them techniques, because there's an art to teaching him how to love you the way you want to be loved. And you can't be doing it all the ways that you've been doing, because if it would have worked, it would have worked the 10 times you tried it before. That stuff does not work. There's an art to getting to his heart and getting him to step up to the plate and be the man that he needs to be for you. And when they come through my program, I teach them the techniques, and I tell you, man, the stories, the flips change. And when I teach them that one technique I taught my daughters called the nutcracker technique. If anything can revive and resuscitate a dead or dying relationship, it's a nutcracker. What is a nutcracker? It is designed to affect and change the hardest nuts, and that's us. Sometimes that's us, right? It is designed to crack the hardest nuts right here. And Morgan, in minutes, I've had husbands on their knees begging for a second chance in minutes. Minutes. I'm not talking about hours or days. I'm talking minutes. It's just, see, here's the problem. Here's the problem. Nobody, and I mean nobody, teaches married couples what to do when the ship is sinking and taking on water. There's no class for that. Nobody teaches you what to do. And so when my first wife was seeing her boyfriend, I guarantee you, Morgan, everything I did and said was wrong, and it drove her out of my house, into the house with him, further into his arms. She left me with the children. I raised them till they were grown. She never came back, but I didn't know what to say or do because nobody had ever taught me. Okay? Because nobody teaches anybody. It's all, oh, you're getting married. Oh, I'm so happy. Oh, you know, peaches and cream. No, but then life shows up. And so I teach people, I teach the women, the married women, what to say and what to do when your husband comes home and says to them what my wife said to me. And she said, I don't love you, and I don't think I want to spend the rest of my life with you, September 2nd, 1984, and my marriage was over. And everything I did and said was wrong. So I teach them, listen to this, what to say and what to do, but more importantly, what not to say and what not to do. And when they follow the script that I give them, if he loves her, if he really does, it flips and it changes. Sometimes it's almost miraculous.
Well, I want to say, folks, if you're watching, you're listening, and you're like, holy smokes, I got to know. I'm curious. Good news is Frank's launching the book. You can grab a copy right now.
Well, look here, and I need to say this. All of the techniques are not in the book because I teach that in my course, but I give concepts, and in the book you will have a reference to a website, and in the website you can learn how you can get information about that 12-week course. Okay, so there is some information there for you.
Yeah, so if you want to grab a copy of the book, go to paperravenbooks.com/the art of womanhood, all one word. There's also a link right next to this video. You can click that link, take you straight over to Amazon. Today, you can grab actually a copy of the ebook for free. So if you're like, I want to download this, I want to check this out, tag a friend, tag a sister, and start to, get this out to other women who might be frustrated in their relationships and not sure what to do. And you've talked about it, on end for hours and hours and hours, and you need maybe some different ideas, maybe some different suggestions, maybe from a guy, maybe from a pastor. This is the book for you. So go ahead and grab a copy of the ebook today, load it on your Kindle. Of course, you can order the physical version too, because you're probably going to want to highlight it and underline it and keep it at your bedside table and all that. And I would encourage you to go ahead and do that while you're here and while you're thinking about it. Frank, I'm curious, why now? Why do you think that women are ready for this book now in maybe a way that they weren't before?
I think women have always needed it. But the reason why we need it now is, I told you, 70 years ago and beyond, mothers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, the community of women would teach women how to go into a relationship and get what they needed in the relationship to be happy. That information was passed down from mother to daughter, from mother to daughter, from mother to daughter, from mother to daughter for millennia. That information is not being passed down anymore. And the average guy and husband is on cloud 9, and the average woman, although she loves her husband, is frustrated, unhappy, not getting back from him, not getting the love back from him in terms of commensurate with how she is meeting his needs and loving and pleasing him. And so I have single women and married women, all frustrated. Okay? Single women who are lonely. Married women, this is an oxymoron. Married women who are lonely and alone. It makes no sense. Those two concepts don't go together. And so women need to, and here's the uniqueness of what I do, okay? I think that there are incredible female life coaches out here. Incredible. None of them can do what I do because none of them have my experience as a man. Okay? That's the uniqueness of what I do. I'm teaching women. I teach them what I've been through, what I've experienced, what I've seen, what I've heard, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm coming from a male's perspective. Okay? I'm giving the secret sauce, exposing the secrets that your husband and your boyfriend and your man is not going to tell you. I'm telling you. And that's the benefit. That is the benefit of what I do. That's what makes me so unique and so successful. And when women come through my program, when they read this book and they come to the coaching program and they roll up their sleeves, their lives change. I've created, playfully, and it really caught on, I created a group. It's called the Cutie Pie Club. Okay, Morgan, these are the women who read the book and they come through the course and they roll up their sleeves and they've gone to work and they put techniques and the principles at work and their lives change and they end up thinking, now they all think they're cute, so that's why I named them the Cutie Pie Club, right? And these women, when they came to me, all of them were broken. All of them were broken. And the overwhelming majority of them were single, and they end up attracting and marrying the greatest guys ever because they put the stuff to work that I've taught them. I just last Sunday, I flew down to Raleigh, North Carolina, because a young lady came through my program. She had just met him 2 weeks before, came through my program, and she read the book. She read the chapters and stuff, and did the program, and she hooked him. She hooked him like that. I married them last Sunday. I did the wedding last Sunday. And it happens. And so they know that when they meet this great guy and they get married, they call me and I go and I marry them. I'm at that wedding.
That's amazing. Well, and what's great is, as you've already pointed out, like her intention is to love her husband, right? And it's fairly cut and dry, pretty clear on how you love a husband well for the most part. And she now is empowered. She knows that she also is going to get what she needs out of this relationship. And I mean, that's the foundation for a happy marriage, is both people really being able to kind of pour into each other and fill each other up kind of day after day in a marriage.
Let me jump in here and say this. Women are the best people on planet Earth with very, very, very few exceptions. No ifs, no ands, no buts. I start off the introduction of the book that way. I make that point. Women are so much better than us, it's not even funny. Look, I'll say this. I am one heck of a man and a heck of a father, okay? And a husband. I was before my wife passed away from COVID 18 months ago. I'm not on the same planet with my wife, okay? She was so much better than I am as a human being. It's not even funny. But here's the problem. That most of you experience. Your greatest assets become your greatest liabilities. So it's an oxymoron. Your greatest assets, and one of your greatest assets is your ability to love. And women love to get love back in return. And when you don't get it, women conclude, you know what? Okay, he's not loving me the way I'm not happy, I'm not fulfilled, I'm not satisfied. You know what? It must be me. So I need to love more. So you love more, you do more, you give more, you sacrifice more this, more cakes, more pies, more sex, more whatever. And then you end up not happy. And you know what the woman concludes? Oh my gosh, I'm not happy. I'm not satisfied. I'm not fulfilled. The problem must be me. I need to do more. And so your greatest assets become your worst liabilities, because nobody has taught you the art of getting your man to love you the way you want and need to be loved. But you have to do it in a way that he doesn't realize he's being taught, because if he does, class is over. He's quit. He's going to drop out of school and he's never going back to that class again.
Well, I want to encourage y'all, if y'all are here, you're watching, you're listening, and you're like, Pastor Frank is speaking right into my life right now. He is seeing right through me, and he's describing exactly what I am going through. The good news is the Art of Womanhood is launching right now. You can grab a copy of the ebook for free and grab a physical copy if you want to have that on your nightstand. Just go to paperravenbooks.com/the art of womanhood, all one word, or click the link right next to this video. That'll take you straight over to Amazon. You can grab your copy of the book today. Frank, last question. I'd love to know a little bit about your writing process. You said, this book kind of, 18 years in the making, basically, and you've taught these concepts. You've walked through these concepts with couples. What was it like to sort of sit down and say, all right, well, this has got to become a book now?
The greatest thing that happened to me after my daughter said that, shortly thereafter, a couple of years after, we moved to Florida. And I went back to school. I was in Winter Park, Florida, and I went to Full Sail University, and we were attending a church. Every Sabbath we were in church, of course, even though I wasn't pastoring. But we met a couple that my wife and I started counseling with. And at the third counseling session, the husband said to me, he said, it was October 2011. He said, my lease ends December 31st. I'm not renewing the lease. He said, and the only thing I'm willing to do for her, his wife, was I'm willing to move her stuff wherever she wants to go. She's behind me. I turned around, I said, do you have anywhere to go? She said, no. I said, you can move in with us. I didn't ask my wife, because I know how we roll, right? I knew it was okay. I was bringing another young lady into our house, but we are about ministry. So we brought her into the house. We moved her in January. And a friend came by one Sunday morning to see her. Her name is Sherma. And she ultimately becomes our adopted daughter. And friend Esther came by to see her. And Sherma had heard me do a presentation at a church. And so Sherma says to Esther, you ought to hear what Pastor Legette teaches to women. And Esther said, talk to me. And I gave her a few concepts, and she says, oh my goodness, the women at our church will you work with us? I said, of course. And so she said, how many women do you need? I said, 10, at least 10. So that next Sabbath, that next Saturday, 10 women walked through my door, okay? And I began to work with them. And the Bible is really true. Christ said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. So the more I begin to teach them, the more concepts he began to teach me and to give me. So the more I gave away, the more I received. And so that experience and that exchange became the basis for each new chapter and each new experience and each new technique. So the more I gave away, the more I received. And I have a particular writing style. I don't know if it's good or not yet. The public is going to tell me. But I think you might have been able to get a little glimpse of this. I'm a born storyteller. right? I came out of the womb telling stories. There's nothing on planet Earth I like better than telling a story. Look, if you don't want to be captivated for a few minutes, don't ask me any questions. I'm just saying. And so every chapter, I started out with a story, a true story. And I'm very transparent. In this book, you're going to learn about all my flaws and all of my mistakes, right? Because I don't care what you think about me personally. I don't live my life going around wondering and caring about how you feel about me. I couldn't care less. My family loves me. My inner circle of friends love me. That's all I need, okay? So I'm able to go transparent and share with you all the mistakes that I have made. But it was absolutely the process of teaching and giving away my knowledge and information. And the more I gave away, the more I got back in return. That's how this book developed over time.
That's so good, Frank. And I know that many of us feel like, oh, well, if I need more research, I need more concepts, like I just need to go and figure out more. But to your point, if you'll get out there and you'll talk to people and you'll help people and you'll be in conversation with people, like it will come, you will develop and you will make more concrete these ideas. And that is the kind of work that really can make way for a fantastic book. So yeah, thank you for kind of highlighting that for us.
Sure, sure.
All right, Frank, any last words for your readers, the folks who are diving into the art of womanhood? Anything that you want to leave us with?
Well, I'm going to say this. A couple of things. Number one, and this is based on the responses that I've given, because Morgan, you know that I sent you the manuscript and you edited the intro and the first chapter and you sent it back to me and I began to send it out, right? Just so that people could have an idea and get a glimpse of what it's about. So here's what I'm going to say to the listeners, those who are watching this. If you don't have time, don't pick it up. Because once you do, you're not going to be able to put it down. And if you have to put it down, you're going to say, oh, man, I don't want to stop reading. Oh, man, can I do that? Oh, man, I got to. Okay, all right, I'll come back to it later. All right, so make sure you have some time, because it's going to grip you, it's going to grab you, it's going to pull you in, and you're not going to want to put it down. And number two, ladies, if you like being miserable, unhappy, unfulfilled, unloved, used and abused, don't read this book. Because if you do, and you follow what I tell you to do, I'm gonna tell you what I told my daughter. If you do what I tell you to do, when I tell you to do it, how I tell you to do it, and why, you're gonna have that rascal right here. Okay? But if you like where you are, don't read this book. Because if you do what I tell you to do, your life is gonna change. Now, if you want and need life change, you know what to do. You know what to do right now. Because your life is gonna change. And you're gonna thank Morgan and me for making this possible.
That's about as good a call to action as I could ever do, Frank. Ladies, tag your friends, let them know about this book, dive in. You can grab the ebook for free right now. Go ahead and do that. Put it on your Kindle, get it loaded, get it ready for this weekend. Go to paperravenbooks.com/the art of womanhood, all one word, or click the link next to this video, take you straight over to Amazon. You can grab your copy of this book right now. And as Frank said, it's going to change your life. It's going to change your life for the better. You're going to have just an enormous satisfaction and fulfillment in relationship and in marriage. And isn't that worth it? Isn't that worth it? Well, thank you so much, Frank, for being here with us. Thank you for boldly proclaiming what women desperately need to hear. Thank you for writing The Art of Womanhood.
Amen. Thank you. And thank you for being my publisher. Look, everybody out there, just forget everybody else. Just forget everybody else. I'm here to tell you right here, and I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not getting paid to say this. Paper Raven Books is the bomb. I'm telling you. I'm telling you right now, okay? They are the bomb. They will take you by the hand and they will walk you all the way through the process. Every person I dealt with was the bomb. every one of them. It was a pleasure. Now they're not cheap, but they're darn good. They're darn good. paperravenbooks.com. That's where you need to be. How about that as a sign off, Morgan?
Thank you, Frank. Well, I so appreciate it. It's been such an honor to work with you. And you're right. One of our greatest pleasures is that we really help to get messages like yours out that maybe a traditional publisher, whatever, they're not going to be interested in. But we know your heart. We know your message. We know your audience is eager and ready for a book like this. And it's just such a pleasure and such an honor to work with you on this book, Frank. So thank you for trusting us with your valuable message and your life's work. It's been such a pleasure.
Amen. Thank you.
You are so welcome. All right, folks, grab your copy of The Art of Womanhood right now, paperravenbooks.com/The Art of Womanhood. Click that link, go grab a book, and tell your friends this is the beginning of a whole new life for you and in your relationship. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Frank, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.